So I did get switched to this one.
Nice.
So
Okay.
that was, yeah,
Cool.
which is good.
Well,
I like it.
yeah, I guess we'll get started, and anyone who joins late, we'll just join late. So welcome everyone. I'm Chef Jessica, one of the tutors here. If you don't know me, Chef Laura is with us as well, so she'll be
Hi.
manning the chat, yeah, and helping out. If you guys have questions, stop me. When there's not many people in here, I do not mind at all. I'd rather you guys all understand everything we're doing and going on. So yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and just interrupt at any point. Because yeah, want to make sure you guys get what's going on. I'm gonna do like a brief recap of kind of last week, because last week we really covered 2 weeks technically, because you're in week 3 right now of costing. So we're going to touch on that for the most part. But I do kind of just want to do a brief recap. So you should see my screen right now. I hope so. Awesome. So this is costing as well. I don't know if I said that. I hope you're all here for costing and costing stuff. So yeah, let's just kind of get started. Again, few of these are recaps. So if you need more help on the few first things I'm showing you, that is week 1. I will actually show you where we can find that too. I'm going to do that real quick before I forget, before I jump in. So if you guys don't know this already, you can find all of the recordings on our tutor page. And this is how you book a session as well if you need extra help. That's this blue thing here. All of the tutors. This is your workshop calendar. It does change each term a little bit, so just be aware of that. All the Zoom links to join them. Costing, if you have not figured this out yet, we do offer 3 costing workshops. Chef Sissy does the other 2, and she's great as well. So if you can't make mine or you want to make hers, they are there. Oh gosh, I'm going to have a hard time talking today. So going forward, this is where you find it under the archive shops. If you were here last week, I'm sure I showed you this because I usually do, but just always like to point it out for those who do not know. These resources are here, they are available, and you can go back and watch those. So if that's kind of where you need help with the most, or if you're struggling from the first 2 weeks, I highly, highly recommend going back. But anyway, let's kind of jump in and get started. So first few things we were learning, or did learn, is how many portion servings can you make, or how many do you need to order? It's essentially the same problem, a little bit flip-flopped. One's division, one's multiplication. So when you're trying to figure out how many servings, portions can you make, it's your starting amount, whatever you have in your pantry, your walk-in, divided by your portion size. You always, and this is across the board in this class, always make sure you're in the same unit of measure, no matter what. So if you're in pounds, you're in pounds. If you're in ounces, you're in ounces. If you have pounds and ounces, you'll want to get to ounces. You have gallons and cups, you'll want to get to cups. Typically speaking, you are always converting to the lower unit. I want to say you can actually do it the other way. There is no issue with it. The math checks out, but it does get a little bit more complicated. Your numbers get like more decimally, if you will, and there's just more room for error. So typically, math speaking wise, it's easier to go to the lower unit. You don't have to. I'm always that person's that's like, what? You could. So if that just makes your brain happier, you can do it that way. Just be careful with those decimals and stuff and rounding errors, because that is honestly the dumbest way to lose points, is you're doing all of the math right, but you have a rounding error. So always checking that. Before I keep going, I'm going to repeat this like 800 times today and in the next couple weeks. This class that you guys are in, I cannot stress this enough. Read the question. I know that sounds really simple and easy and silly because you're all reading it, but read it like 5 times. Like reread it, go back. And I really like putting it in context, like, what is this question asking me? And then just thinking about it before you even start doing math, finding your equation, doing anything with numbers, just think to yourself, what is this question asking of me? Like, what are they trying to find out here? And just asking that simple question it solves a lot of errors. Like if it's asking it for a percentage, or if it's asking to the nearest cent or anything like that, you'll find those errors. Trust me, I know that sounds weird and crazy, but reread the question as many times until you understand and comprehend what it's asking. Because a lot of these equations aren't that complicated when you start getting into them, but just knowing what it's asking will really help with a lot of the confusion. And there's some questions that you don't even need to do math. Like you'll have questions that have nothing to do with math. And it's more like just thinking about what it's asking, but I'll throw out numbers and it's trying to confuse you. So I cannot stress that. Gosh, I could say it like 100 more times. Read the question. If you have not heard me yet, read it. Again, just understanding that and going back, you always need to be in that same unit of measure across the board, regardless of which problem you're doing. So always make sure you're doing that before you get too far. I know that's easy to do too. Let's see, how much do you need to order? Is just basically like asking you, how much do you need to fulfill the amount of servings you want? How much are you trying to make? Is how much you're trying to order. So you take your total servings multiplied by your portion size to get how much you need to order. All right, kind of touching base on the rest of them. How much does one portion serving cost? Again, this is huge. This problem, I think people get confused with because they just start doing the math. So jumping to this next slide, you always want to convert to your portion unit. Whatever your portion unit is, like serving is 6 ounces, you need to get your price per ounce first, or your price per tablespoon, or your price per cup. And then you can figure out how much your portion size costs. So kind of jumping back here, showing you, because this one's a few steps. If you buy a 25-pound case of tomatoes for $32, each portion uses 6 ounces. How much does each portion cost? Your first step is to get the 25 pounds for $32 down to your price per pound. So you take $32 divided by 25 pounds. Now you get, this is your price per pound, $1.28. Something to note, not just in this problem, but again, across the board, do not round early. This problem doesn't have much rounding here. It's very clean cut, easy. I like it. The OCD part of me is like, it's nice and neat. But don't round early. So keep whatever numbers in your calculator all the way till the end and then round, because it can definitely change your answer if you're rounding early. And again, you don't want to have a rounding error for the reason why your answer is wrong. So now that you have your price per pound, you would figure out your price per ounce because it's asking how much is 6 ounces. So you would take this and you would divide it by 16 because we know there's 16 pounds in an ounce. Also, if you don't have your conversions written down somewhere or like a grandmaster list and you aren't super familiar with them, I highly recommend having one. It's not cheating. You can have all those resources at your disposal. So you might as well use them. Just to note that as well. But anyway, so this is our price per ounce. You would multiply it by 6 to get your price for 6 ounces. Again, kind of just skimming over it, but good to kind of catch up on that. All right, diving into the new stuff. Week 3. This is where we get into some good stuff, in my opinion, some of the bulk of it. What is your food cost %? This is a big one. This is one you guys will need to remember, not just for this class, numerous classes. So ingrain this in your head somewhere. And you will see this equation a lot for numerous things. So we're talking food cost % this week, but it's the same equation for other costs. So if you're trying to figure out your labor, your beverage, your whatever overhead percentage, this is the same exact equation. You're just putting the food, whatever you're trying to figure out is your first number divided by your total sales. When you do this, you're going to end with a decimal. If you don't end with a decimal, just know your math is already wrong. That's one easy way to check yourself. Anytime you're looking for a percentage, and on the baker's side, you have baker's math, you get over the 100%, 200%. So those aren't necessarily a decimal. But for this class, anytime you're looking for a percentage, you're going to get a decimal every time. To get that decimal to a percentage, we either multiply it by 100, or you can move that decimal 2 spaces over to the right. Whatever, oops, that's bad drawing. Whatever is in your head that works, I encourage you to do it. It's the same thing. So whatever you think works for you, keep doing that. But anyway, for this, I totally just blanked on what I was saying. I'm so bear with me today. Anyway, so when you're looking at your food cost percentage, again, what is this question asking of me? What are we trying to find out here? Your food cost percentage is just a breakdown. It's a percentage of how much you spent on food in comparison to how much you made in your sales. So it gives you a percentage at the end. That's your percentage basically that you spent on ingredients alone, which is why you can do it for all the things. After you basically have all your expenses, whatever's left over is your profit. So that's how you make money. Having these costs under control is how you make money in this business. And if you're not making money, you're not going to be in business very long. So this is really, really important. If you're not a math person, I hear you, I see you, but try your best, because this stuff is really, really big throughout not just the program, but culinary going forward in the kitchen. So let's work on some examples. Feel free to, again, throw your answers in the chat. We'll do more examples after I go through the equations, don't worry, but the ones on the slides. So if our steak platter ingredients cost $4.79, we sell it for $12. What is your food cost percentage? It's basically asking you what percent of that $12 did we spend that was $4.79. So you take your $4.79 and you divide it by 12, and we get 0.39916666667 multiplied by 100. We get 39.916. I would round that up to 40. That's not great if you're wondering food cost percentage wise. But let's try this next example. Cobb salad costs $3.84 to make. You sell it for $13.99. How much does it cost your food cost percentage? So you take your $3.84, and if you have your phone or your calculator, you do this with me. There's something about doing it as I'm doing it. The muscle memory of it will really help. So do the problems, even if you're not talking or throwing them in the chat. It's good to know. So we get our decimal, 2.27448, multiply it by 100, 27.4, or 27% would be your final answer. Do we have any questions on that equation? Again, I'll go through some more examples and problems, but just want to touch on the other good stuff this week. I didn't really pause it there. Anyone? Brief pause. Cool. Moving on. What is the lowest you can charge? Your minimum menu price. This equation kind of gets me at first, because I don't know, in my brain, I want to think it's the opposite. So don't let it throw you. Thinking about it, it's basically asking you, what can you charge to achieve this food cost percentage? What is the minimum amount we can charge? If you charge more than that, your food cost percentage would just go down. So this is like achieve, or the minimum price you can charge to achieve what your food cost percentage goal is. So if you want your food cost percentage to be 20%, 22%, whatever it is, you know how much your ingredients cost. This is how you figure out how to achieve that. So your food cost, or however much you spent on your ingredients, divided by the food cost percent. Something to note here, like looking at this example problem, your food cost percent, when you divide it, you divide by 0.2. So you're dividing by that percentage as a decimal, not by 20. I'll show you both ways, because a lot of these problems in this class, you can catch yourself. Same with this one. I didn't say it on here. If you're flip-flopping, like I'll just show you a quick example. I'm like dyslexic with math all the time. So let's say you forget which way you're supposed to divide and you do 12 divided by 4.79. Your answer is 2.5. And you're looking for a decimal of a percentage. So if you multiply that by 100, because that's what we need to do, we get 250%. Why on earth would your food cost be 250% of what you spent on your ingredients? It wouldn't. It makes zero sense. So if you're like me and you struggle with like which way to divide, or if you multiply or divide, because it's easy to mix it up, it just is. At least in my brain, it is, maybe not yours. But if you're like that, the answer is going to be really, really obvious how wrong it is. So I like to say, all your questions, when you get done with your math and you think you know the answer, just put that final answer in context to what the question's asking you. And if you're doing it wrong, like I just showed you the wrong way, it's gonna be like scream. Like I'd say 95% of the time, it's gonna be like red flag. This makes no sense. So huge way to catch yourself. I don't know how that helps you figure out the right problem or the right equation, but at least you know when you're wrong. And if that is you, honestly, most of the time you just flip-flopped them. So try it the other way. Anyway, kind of going back to this. So what got me off on that tangent? Oh, this 0.2 thing. Yeah, 20% decimal when you divide. So going with the same steak platter example, costs $4.79 to make it. We want to sell it at 20% food cost. So you take your $4.79, your ingredient cost, divided by 20% as a decimal, so 0.20. And we get $23.95. So this basically is telling us you have to charge the customer $23.95 to get 20% food cost if your ingredients cost $4.79. Now, to show you how you can screw this up, if you forget that you're doing that decimal as your percent and you just divide by 20, you get 24 cents. So why would you charge your customer 24 cents when you spent $4.79 on ingredients? They're gonna go out of business faster than you can even think about that. So again, just a good way to catch yourself with some of these problems and how you're doing them. Or even if you do it backwards, let's say you do 0.2, you remember that part, but you flip-flop them. Now we got 4 cents. It's even worse. Why would you charge somebody 4 cents? So just easy ways to double check yourself. I really like the troubleshooting because I don't know how many times I get the wrong answer. And it's like, it's nice to know when it's at least wrong before you figure out that it's wrong by answering it wrong. So again, just taking your time, making sure you're reading the question fully really will help you there. So next little quick example on this, what should you charge for Cobb salad? That costs $3.84 if you wanted your food cost 20%. So you take your $3.84 divided by your 0.2. And we get $19.20, which makes sense because essentially your $3.84 is 20% of the $19.20 is what this is telling us. How are we feeling with that? Somewhat good? Okay, cool. We'll do more examples, but glad to know no questions yet. You guys are quiet tonight. It's okay. I don't mind. I'm like, if I were you, I wouldn't be talking. So I understand. So next thing you guys are working on this week is your contribution margin. I'll say it. I think this is your easiest equation through the whole entire course that you guys are doing the 6 weeks. This is just subtraction. This is asking you what's the difference between what you sold it for and your ingredients cost, or what's left over after you paid for the ingredients, essentially. So you take your menu price, whatever you're selling it for, minus your food cost. And that's your contribution margin. This one, in my opinion, is the easiest equation. So just kind of throwing out these examples. Your steak platter ingredients cost $4.79. You sell it for $12. What is the contribution margin? You would just take your $12 and you minus your $4.79. $7.21. Basically the difference. What's left over after you paid for your ingredients. Same thing, that Cobb salad costs $3.84. You sell it for $13.99. What is your contribution margin? $13.99 minus $3.84. $10.15 is your leftover. I do want to point out, you guys will see this equation in your week 5 stuff, but it'll be just bigger numbers. So you'll see this equation a lot. This is a good one to just like ingrain in your brain. They all are, but this one's huge. So just so you know, this does come back around. So do we have any questions on any of these equations before I jump into just some practice problems and working through those? Feel free to raise your hand, yell at me. I do not mind. Everyone good? Cool. Okay.
So they have access to all of the formulas, right? They can keep in front of them all the time. Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Do that. I believe they're called helpful hints. They might have changed the name. Actually, let's look. We have a few. We have a minute. I'm going to jump into one of your classes real quick. This is not what your page looks like, so just bear with me on that. I know they had changed something, and I haven't actually looked recently. They were helpful hints last term, but I don't think a lot of students saw them, and that's part of the problem. Maybe roadmap. That probably sounds. Let's see. Live session number 2. We're in week 3. I keep forgetting. Week 3. Costs and margins. Is it that? Yeah, that is. Yep. So these, regardless if this is your chef or not, I don't know whose class I just clicked in, you'll have something, some type of resource that shows you those equations. Honestly, I would have this up in front of me, like during my test.
Absolutely.
On like one page, the test on another, or print it out even if you have a printer. I personally just like hard copies of things. So that's why I like printing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm like, I like looking at physical stuff. Then being like, which tab is it?
Exactly.
I'm like, I don't know if that'll ever go away. I've gotten better, but I'm still like,
does it go away?
I'm like, I still prefer hard. Okay, let's jump into some examples then, now that we kind of know that. Feel free to throw your answers in the chat, say them out loud.
There's a question in the chat from Rhonda. She says, I am in pastry, so where do I find it?
Rhonda, are you not in your costing class yet? You're just learning costing for fun right now?
Good girl. I like it.
That's not a bad idea. Okay, you don't have one, but I can email you one. I was going to say, Rhonda, will you throw your email or your last name in the chat so I can find it? Oh, it's right there. I got you. Nice. Cool. I'm writing your name down before I forget. But yeah, I have one I can send you. That way you have what everyone else has or something similar. But that's great that you're here and learning this stuff before you need to, because it'll just make that costing class that much easier when you get to it. Absolutely. For sure. Great question. Yeah. I didn't even really think about that because this is tailored to the CE167 cost controls. Okay, jumping in. So again, I really like to, even though these problems aren't that much words, I really like to skip the problem itself in this class and go right to the question and then go back to it and just think, knowing what you're looking for before you read the problem, because you basically have to comprehend it more, I guess. So kind of skipping the question, what is your contribution margin? Okay. Contribution margin is your selling price minus your cost ingredients. So if your ingredients for the cheesecake cost $11.35 and you sell it for $25, what is your contribution margin? Feel free to throw your answers in the chat, say them out loud. Rhonda, you said 1365. Let's see if you're right. So we got 25 minus 1135. 1365. Nice job. Is that what everyone else got? Oops. Cool. Let's try number 2. What is your contribution margin if your ingredients for a cheesecake cost $11.68 and you sell it for $18? You take your 18 minus 11.68. 632. Feeling good with that? Let's go to some more. That's always, like you said, in my opinion, those are always the easier ones. Let's see. Let's do number 4. So again, skipping some of those words and it's not that bad yet in this week, but I'll warn you. I'll give you a brief warning. Your next week in costing gets really wordy. The word problems just become more words. It's not that it's hard. Once you get it, we'll get you there, but it is just a lot of words. So I like to kind of skip all the words, figure out what it's asking first, and then go back to the problem itself and pick out the information you need. Because sometimes they're going to give you more information than you even need for the problem. So just kind of good thing to do in general, or at least with word problems in math. Maybe not in general. So the ingredients for your lemon pasta cost $3.75. You want your food cost for this item to be 30%. What is the lowest price you can charge to achieve that 30% food cost if your ingredients are $3.75? The equation itself is essentially your food cost divided by your food cost percent as a decimal. Huge thing as a decimal. So you would take your $3.75 and you would divide that by 0.3 and you get $12.50. Is that what everyone else is getting? Hopefully. Let's see, same question, but what if we wanted 20% food cost? So you have $3.75 divided by 0.2, $18.75. If you want 20%, how about 25%? The good old in between. $3.75 divided by 0.25. You have $15. Doing good on that one, everyone? Hope so. Let's jump down. I don't like those ones. Well, let's do it anyway. This is good. See, there's a lot of info here. So your first question, we're doing number 11 here. Your first question is, what is the sum of your costs? So anytime you see that question, which I don't believe we really covered. I feel like I have that somewhere, but I don't know where. Anyway, I'll figure that out later. The sum of all your costs is really just all your costs added up. When you see the word sum, think addition, or the total of everything. So everything that says a cost in your equation, you would add up. So your food cost, your labor cost, your other costs, your sales. You don't add in your sales are not a cost. So you would add up those 3 costs together. So 8,592 plus 10,621 plus 4,852. I feel like I did that twice. That's not right. I added more. This is a huge thing, and I'm really bad with the calculator on the computer. I'm not even gonna lie to you. When you're getting into some of these bigger numbers, just making sure that you're doing your math right will save you problems. I encourage you to do everything twice. If you get the same answer, that's great. If you don't, you just maybe, it's so easy to hit the wrong number on a calculator and not realize it. And the more we get into bigger numbers, the more that's going to just be easier, more room for error, really. So that is your sum. $24,065 will be the sum of all your costs. What is your food cost percentage? So your food cost percentage is your food cost divided by your sales. So you take your 8,592 and you divide it by 47,227. Gets you a decimal. And I do have to note this worksheet's throwing me off. That'd be 18%. I'm going to scroll for a minute because I want to say, no, you guys are doing this one. I don't know why I keep thinking you're not. Anyway, sorry, I'm like half telling you what I'm thinking. The whole thing that we're doing right here, I'm going to go back to our question 11 we're working on. There we are. Right now we're talking big picture, like for the restaurant, for the week, for the day. You can do this with anything. With the smaller things too. So like looking at kind of what I was showing you, you can do this for your specific dish or your specific menu item. And then you can also do the same equation full circle for like the entire day or the entire week or the entire month. So you can get a lot of different food cost percentages and just knowing which one they're looking for. So obviously in this class, whatever numbers they're giving you, that's what they're talking about, but you can do it for whatever they're asking. Exact same equation, just like what I was showing you here, are just smaller numbers versus the ones we're doing on that worksheet are just larger numbers, but the equation's the same. So don't let the big numbers throw you off or scare you. It's just more big picture than like one item dish or one ingredient or something like that. Rhonda, you have a question?
Yeah, like for example, say I'm doing hamburgers. My menu, my special is hamburgers and fries. So do I add up all the ground beef that I buy and all the ingredients that I add in there? So I'm totaling up all this together to get my cost, or to get
Yes. To give you like the big picture, yeah, exactly. So like great example, if you have hamburgers, you basically would cost it out like how much you spent on ground beef, lettuce, tomato, buns, cheese, fries, everything that is putting that dish together.
Okay.
So you would cost it out, and then you would basically like let's say you're doing 8 servings because there's 8 buns in a package usually, or at least normal packages, not commercial. But so you'd cost out your recipe for like maybe 8 servings. So you figure out the total cost of all your ingredients in this recipe itself, and then you would just divide it by your serving size to get your price per serving.
Okay.
And then you can like, and then you have your price per serving, how much you're going to sell it for on your menu, figure out your food cost percentages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it's practically what we have right here.
Yeah, this is the end result, like your food cost.
Okay.
But to get that food cost, you would total up how much you're spending on all the food you're using.
Got it. Okay.
Yep. And that's also, yeah, for sure. And that's a great question. And that's why it's so important to have a standardized recipe in the kitchen. When you have different chefs and stuff across the board, if you have one chef doing this much in a serving and one chef doing this much in a serving, and you're selling it for the same price, how are you ever going to keep track of that? Like everybody needs to be doing the same thing. And having those standard recipes and costing it out from those standard recipes is a great great way to figure that out.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a great question.
thank you.
Yeah, anyone else have any questions right now?
Jessica, just at the end, they were asking if you could show them in the class page where to find all those formulas again when we're done.
Yeah, well, I can just pop back over there.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, I'm like, no worries. So depending on your class, the sheet itself might look a little different. There's a conversion sheet too, week 1, but it's usually in this learn section, regardless of what chef you have and what that sheet looks like. This looks pretty standard. Maybe everyone gets the same one now. They changed something this term. I don't know what yet, but this looks more standardized than before. It was like each chef had their own little designed thing. But yeah, these are your equations. So it's not like one grandmaster list per se. It's each week. So like you're in week 3 right now. Restaurant and math, actions, costs. That's where you'd find it. So the learn, I guess the short answer is the learn section. Let's see, where am I? All right, kind of back here, we did our food cost percentage. Now let's try the same equation, but with your labor cost percentage. So doing that, again, making sure you're reading that question, going to your labor cost, that's 10,621, and you just divide that by your sales. Because again, this question is asking you, what percent did you spend on labor for how much you made or how much you brought in? Divided by 47,227. And that gets us 0.22489. Multiply it by 100. Round to the nearest percent would be 22% for your food cost. Honestly, I would say 22.5 if I was actually doing this for my own safety and sake, just because it's pretty in the middle. Let's see, other costs. So this other cost section, think of other costs, Scoffy, I like to call them that. I've always referred to them as overhead costs or fixed costs. So it's more like your rent, utilities, trash, laundry, things like that, cable, things that you just know are there as an expense every month or every week to keep your restaurant open. Kind of falls into that one lump sum category. So your other costs divided by your sales would be your other cost percent. So in this case, we have 4,852 divided by our sales, 47,227. Multiply that by 100, and we get 10% as our other cost percentage. How are we feeling with all of that? Doing good? I know Rhonda's doing good. She's shaking her head. I can't see the rest of you, but I hope you're doing good too. If not, please, 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 please let somebody know. Reach out to a tutor, get on somebody's schedule, book an appointment. We are all here to make sure you guys are doing good and being successful. That is literally our job. So please, please, please let us do our job. Ask for help. Even if you're afraid, just maybe like, I don't know, text us, email us, just be like, hey, I'm that really shy person. Didn't want to interrupt. That's fine. I know somebody out there is sitting there thinking like, well, that's me. So please don't hesitate. We'd want to get you help. So let's try this number 12 problem. So we still have a little bit of time left. And I feel like at least this stuff's the harder stuff. What is the sum of all your costs? First question. So going back to your question, your food cost is 8,251. Your labor cost is 6,165. Your other cost is 4,082. Your sales are 40,243. Your sales do not matter because they're not a cost. Huge thing. I can't stress that enough. I don't know how many times somebody wants to put this number in with it. Don't do that. Read again. Falls back on the reading the question. So when you see that some of all your costs, your sales are not a cost. It's basically telling you to add up everything that says cost. So let's see what that answer ends up being. If I can type in my computer without fat fingering. All right. So our sum of all of our costs would be 18,498. And I do want to point this out because this really isn't a question, I don't think, this week on your test, but again, it's just great to know. So this is the sum of your costs, right? This is how much you spent on food, labor, sales. That's actually really good if you think about it. If you take your sales and you subtract this number, that's essentially what you have left over in profit. Or you can even take this number and divide it by your sales, and that tells you what percent of how much you made you spent on just costs. Typing in the wrong number, 243. Because this is all of them all together. Usually in your class, they don't really ask you that, but I like to know it. This is actually a great example. This is about 46%. That's really good. That gives you 54% left over. That's a lot of money. So this is a great example. Now, not all of them are like that. So anyway, kind of going back to our actual questions here. What is your food cost percent? Round to the nearest percent. Typically, you're rounding to the nearest percent. So you take your 8,251 divided by your 40,243 times 100, or moving that decimal 2 spots to the right. Get 20.5. Guess if you have to round up, it would be 21. I would still think it's 20.5. But how we're doing? Everyone's getting it? Hopefully. Cool. What is your labor cost percent? 6,165 divided by your sales, 40,243. Multiply that by 100, and we get 15%. Doing the same thing, but with our other costs. You have your 4,082 divided by 40,243. Multiplied by 100, we get 10%. How are we doing with that one? Let's find some minimum menu price. Yeah, let's do another one of those while we still have a couple minutes. So number 14 here, we're going to do this one. The ingredients for your skillet brownie cost $2. You want your food cost for this item to be 30% or lower. What is the lowest price you can charge to achieve that 30% food cost if you spent $2 on ingredients? $2 divided by 0.3, 6666666, or 667 with rounded. Nice job, Tiffany. Cool. So let's say you wanted at 20%. Again, your $2 divided by 0.2. Get $10. Ooh, I like that example. I like when the numbers are even and like come out nice and smooth. That's a good one. So this is basically saying to do 20% food cost, you'd need to charge $10 for brownie, which if you're on the baking pastry side, might scream why it's hard to make some money sometimes doing it, because some of your ingredients cost a lot. Like to bake and make a whole cake or like a whole cheesecake, it's expensive. And to charge appropriately, you're like, no one's going to pay $50 for a cheesecake. They will if it tastes good enough, let me tell you. But having these under control, having your labor costs under control is so important. I can't even stress that enough. That is the whole point of this class. So again, 25%, you take $2. Oh, see? Oh, this is great. I did the wrong thing. Let's see what it comes out as. 50 cents. Why would it be 50 cents? Why would I charge somebody 75% less than what I spent on ingredients? It's silly. You wouldn't. great way to catch yourself though. So I multiplied instead of divided, which is terrible because I do these all the time and I have the equations in front of me. So anyone can make mistakes. Always good to double check it, and knowing how to find that wrong answer, and knowing when you do get a wrong answer, because if you know it before you answer your question, that's great because you can just redo it. But that's about all I really had for today. Does anyone have any questions about anything that I just went over or anything class related? Everyone doing good? You guys are all just as sleepy as I am tonight. That's okay. I understand. Me and you both. But cool, I guess we'll call it a night. Again, if you guys aren't aware, Chef Sissy has hers on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, and then also Friday at noon Central Time, and then Sunday at 6 Central Time. I'm Eastern Time. It always throws me off. But yeah, they're always there. They're the same every week. We record them all. So if you can't make mine, make hers. If you want to go back and watch them, I encourage you to. If everything I said doesn't make sense to you, Chef Sissy explains it differently. Not in a bad way, just differently. So she's great. If I'm confusing you, I encourage you to watch hers because it's just a different perspective in the same equations. But cool. Thanks for joining me tonight and hanging out. Hope you all enjoy your evening.